Hello everybody, and welcome back to One Nerd to Rule Them All. And in today's video, we will be returning to the Warhammer Age of Sigmar universe as we talk about the goddess of nature and life of the cosmos arcane. Of course, we are talking about the Everqueen, Alarielle. So, without further ado, let's get into the video. Alarielle has existed in one guise or another for aeons. She is the nurturer of worlds, the mother of all life, and it is she who brings the endless potential of nature to glorious fruition. It is her children that raise the greatest life forms to maturity, that fashion beautiful worldscapes from the simplest seeds, and that sing the songs of paradise as the great cycle of life wind ever on. Some mortal seers say Alarielle was born from the humblest of beginnings. Others say that she has always existed, but in Ghyran, the first depictions of her bounty date back to the age of myth. Those who walk in the living branch tapestries of Aurea first see the barbarian god king Sigmar waking Alarielle from a long hibernation. He then proceeds to win her gratitude, and the two together are then seen hurling back a tide of darkness. Later, Alarielle is shown as a plant queen, surrounded by a court of glowing tree spirits, then as a wandering nymph, distributing soul pods throughout the mortal realms. The last tableau, wiry and barren, she is a weeping goddess curled in her private kingdoms, sealed away in a paradise besieged on all sides by the scenes of anarchy and destruction. In these times of conflict, it is these images that ring truest of all. Most of the Jade Kingdoms have been stolen from Alarielle's guardship by the greedy armies of the Dark Gods. And yet, there is still hope for Ghyran. Alarielle's mournful interception has availed her little. Even the roots she had put down in her last haven had proved brittle and dry. The seeds of her vengeance are sown, awaiting the light that will see them grow to deadly fruition once more. She was already working her life-giving magics to aid those who fought for the realm of life's cause. With the forces of order working as one in the Age of Sigmar, a new dawn may yet rise upon the Jade Kingdoms, an era that sees chaos banished from her realm. Besides her magic, Alarielle can be seen wielding deadly weapons. In one hand, Alarielle bears a deadly spear of Kurnoth, while the other tends to the talon of Dwindling, a dread weapon that chills the souls of any it wounds, withering spirits and atrophying bodies. She rides an unstoppable Wardroth beetle, which causes untold ruin with its great antlers. With a gesture, Alarielle can summon forth healing pollens and soul seeds from an amphora arrayed around her mount. With a wrathful glare from the Everqueen, the enemy's arms twist into bows and their feet burrow down to form roots. She can also cast spells such as the Arcane Bolt and Mystic Shield. Reborn from the land she loved in a soaring crescendo of hope, fury, loss and exhilaration, Alarielle the Everqueen is an ancient and powerful being. She is the goddess of life magic. Where she treads atop her immense Wardroth beetle, new blooms scream out in a riot of colour, strength, and passion. She scatters soul amphoras across the mortal realm, each containing magical pollens that can coax new Sylvaneth from the ground, or choke her enemies down. The only match for the courage she instills in her allies is the hatred she feels for her foes. Alarielle the Everqueen burns with a fierce need for vengeance, and her enemies would do well to run from her. Alarielle's reblooming gave her perspective that her waning self had lacked. The goddess now saw the war against chaos could not be won by simply reclaiming Ghyran. The corruption of the dark gods must be purged utterly from all mortal realms, lest they all be brought to ruin. It was this revelation that led Alarielle through the Ghyran realm gate, known as the Copper Falls. This connected to the Hellhaze realm gate in Akshai, and into a battle atop Godskull Messa. It also gave her a strength and determination that none of her previous incarnations had ever quite matched. Countless seasons of war had come and gone for Alarielle, but never before had they followed such a time of humbling, relentless defeat. Alarielle was angry in a way that only a deity can be, and she sought to vent the frustrations and shame upon her enemies. Those who had brought Alarielle to her knees would be sorry that they had, for in doing so, they had inadvertently raised her higher than ever, and this time she would show them no mercy. When the Hellhaze Realm Gate blazed alive atop Godskull Messa, it caught the worshippers of Khorne there by surprise. Long had they used its smouldering portal to raid the wilds of Gyron, but never had their enemies come back through it to challenge them. That changed as Alarielle led an unstoppable tide of Sylvaneth out across the massive brass ruin branded upon the skull-shaped Messa's forehead. At the Everqueen's side marched clan upon clan of Sylvaneth from many a great glades. Before her, the auspicious immensity of the Godskull Messa stretched away, studded with towering brass fortifications and thundering volcanoes. In this region of Akshai, Khorne ruled. Millions of bloodbound, slaves to darkness, and daemons of the blood god infested the Dreadhold fortress. Flames of pure wrath roared up from the Messa's canyon moor, lighting the whole region with a hellish glow. Ash of Sylvaneth spread across the Messa's forehead, drums thundering and hordes braying from the fortress's battlement. Bone gates rattled upwards on brass chains, and skull-studded walls screamed as the conquering hordes of Godskull Messa poured out to meet the invaders. Carnal knights galloped alongside howling blood warriors and hissing demons, yet Alarielle was not dismayed. Instead, she smiled. Upon the Everqueen's orders, the wargroves of Sylvaneth advanced. Entire armies of forest spirits spread out upon either flank, making for the far slopes of the volcanoes that constituted the Messa's eye sockets. Meanwhile, Alarielle led the main bulk of her hosts straight into battle, standing impersonally atop her Wardroth beetle. The noble spirits of the households flowed forward, meeting the ragged Khornite battle line with a thunderous crash. Enchanted blades swirled and hacked, cutting through brass armour and brimstone flesh. Tree lords stamped and lashed, thundering their spirit song's command, even as hellblades hacked at their bark-clad forms. Skull cannons boomed out volleys of grisly ordnance. Showers of Kurnoth hunters' arrows pinned screaming blood reavers to the ground. Sap and gore swirling in a tide across the battlefield, and still the fighting raged. The worshippers of the blood god caused hideous carnage among the Sylvaneth. Yet, to their dawning shock, they realised that it was they, their foes, who were being driven slowly backward. Alarielle was ever inched the warrior goddess, blasting swants of enemies from her path, even as she tried healing the hurt of her children, and brought them back to battle, time and time again. In her wake, new realm roots burrowed through the bone soil, healing its corruption and causing wildwoods to burst up into the fiery light. Gradually, life was blooming across the once barren Godskull Messa. The surviving defenders of Godskull Messa stood, backlit by the hungry fires of the Brimstone Moor. Around them, the Sylvaneth stalked from the wirewoods to gather in a vast semicircle. At their heart stood Alarielle, her sons of Durthu around her. To either side waited glades and clans gathered in vast numbers. Even Drycha Hermandreth waited upon one flank, pacing like a caged animal amongst her outcasts, impatient for the butchery to begin. Where the worshippers of Khorne bellowed and roared, pounded drums and screamed praises to their god, the Sylvaneth waited in absolute silence for the order to attack. Then, within their minds, the song of war boomed loud, and it was on this cue that they surged forward as one. Alarielle's children charged the enemy line, sweeping down upon the followers of chaos like a hurricane. The Everqueen soared at the head of the charge, a shimmering cloud of Wardroth spites, following her as she flew. Only at the very last moment did she drop from the skies, her monstrous seed coalescing into brutal solidarity and crashing through the Khornate ranks like a battering ram. Tides of writhing vines and ripping thorns dismembered skull-helmed warriors. Spirits of Durthu swept their glowing swords right and left, felling enemies like a harvestman at the reap. Elite bands of Kurnoth hunters sloped through the battle, eliminating the enemy's most powerful leaders with blades and bow. In a great rage, Drycha ripped her way through all that opposed her, until her spite-swarmed body dripped with the gore of her blood-worshipping foes. Everywhere, brazen axes split bark flesh and spilling sap across the scorched ground. Bloodletters toppled the heads from tree revenants, while skull grinders whirled through the press, bludgeoning masses of dryads to kindlewood with their chained anvils. At the battle's heart, a pair of bloodthirsters wrought absolute carnage upon the Sylvaneth, the axes and whips sending splintering bodies flying through the air. Yet still the Chaos forces were driven ever back, until their rearmost warriors began to tumble, screaming into the blazing gulf at their backs. This brings us to the end of today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed this return to the world of Age of Sigmar. If you like these kind of videos, then feel free to leave suggestions in the comments down below, and let me know what kind of videos you'd like to see in the future. Anyway, hope you guys have a wonderful day or night wherever you are in the world. Bye for now.